Hi everyone. My name is Trish Whetzel, and I'm the Outreach Coordinator for the National Center for Biomedical Ontology. And so how many people have heard of NCBO? Okay, there's a few people, a good amount. So for those who are not familiar with NCBO, I just wanted to point out that the mission of our center is to create software for the application of ontologies in biomedical science and clinical care. And our main partners are our PI of NCBO is Mark Musin at Stanford University, Chris Shute.
Is it working?
Is it?
Get it closer.
Chris Shute from the Mayo Clinic, Barry Smith from the University of Buffalo, and Peggy Story from the University of Victoria. And so NCBO is one of 8 national centers for biomedical computing funded under the NIH Roadmap Initiative. And again, our main group is located here at Stanford. So the main application that we've built is called BioPortal. And so you've heard of a couple talks reference where you can access their ontology from BioPortal. And so BioPortal is a web-based system to access and search and visualize and do a lot of neat things with ontologies. Now this web UI is driven by a set of web services, and so that's what I'd actually going to focus on. So we've developed a number of web services to access ontologies as well as use them in applications and applications from these. So we have web services to access the ontologies. We have a set of web widgets. We have the Annotator Web Service and a couple of others here to create ontology-based annotations, as well as the resource index, which provides access to ontology-based annotations. So I'll go through each of these briefly here as an overview. So to start off with the web services accessing ontologies. So first of all, there's the Search Web Service, and this is one of the more popular web services that we provide. So there are a total of about 5 million ontology terms over the 280 or so ontologies in BioPortal. And so there's a Search Web Service, and this has a number of different parameters to limit your search to either exact match or non-exact, and whether you want to just look for term ID or the term name. Also, you can group ontologies if you want to only search those across the UMLS or the OBO Foundry or things like that. So a number of data annotation applications utilize the Search Web Service. So once you find a term of interest, you can then call the term web service, and this actually then gets you the properties and more details about the term, synonyms, definition, for example. We've also developed a set of hierarchy web services, and these are basically, I like to think of these as sort of shortcut web service in the sense that, so the term web service itself tells you what the parents and the children are, but rather doing that recursive call. We have these hierarchy web services, so in one shot you can say, given the term heart, and traverse 2 layers up the hierarchy. What are the parents, or what are the children, or what are the siblings of that given term? So just it's a little more efficient way to get access to that information. We also have mapping web services, and there's also a number of parameters there to filter the results so that you're not being overwhelmed by unwanted data. Since there are a number of mappings as well. There's the Notes Web Services, so if there's any ontology developers or curators here in the audience, so you can actually make comments on the ontology term or propose new terms, and this gets filtered back to the ontology developers themselves. And we also have a web service here to get RDF for ontologies, and so this can be for the ontology itself or for individual terms. And so we've also we do have a prototype SPARQL endpoint, but we're in the process now of refactoring the underlying BioPortal architecture to provide this as a triple store. We've also developed a number of widgets to make it easy to incorporate ontology terms within web-based data annotation forms. So we have a form autocomplete widget, And this is actually pretty neat because you can parameterize it to either return back the full URI of the term or just the term identifier, or for some reason you're only interested in the text string, you can also do that. We also have widgets if you want to visualize an ontology on your own website. You can incorporate either this graph widget or the tree widget. Next, I want to talk about the Annotator Web Service. And so basically the idea behind this is given a set of free text data, what ontology terms exist within that. And so this web service will provide you with those details. And then lastly, the resource index. So what we've done is we've taken a number of publicly available biomedical databases, and we've developed a resource access tool. And basically that's it accesses the resource, and given the fields of interest that the person who has developed this resource access tool has said are of interest or have textual metadata, it pumps these through the NCBO annotator, and then we store those ontology annotations locally. So if anyone's interested in this, we are actually expanding the number of resources, so be happy to talk to anyone about building a resource access tool. And so then once we store these locally, then we have in BioPortal, we have a web UI to search these, as well as a number of web services. So you can, given an ontology term, you can search for all resources that have been annotated. With that ontology term, you can also say, give me a resource identifier, get me back all of the ontology annotations that you've identified in the fields that you've annotated. So lastly, I want to point out that there's a number of applications and groups that we've been working with, and that are incorporating the NCBO Web Services into their tools. So this is a subset of these here. And then lastly, I wanted to thank the organizers for having me here, and just a few URLs that may be of interest. So some details on how to use the web services within your own project, documentation on the web services, how you can keep in touch with what NCBO is doing, new releases, a Twitter account, as well as we just started a Facebook account last week. So come by and like NCBO. We'll also field questions at the support email below. Thanks.
Mike. NBDC ontology in BioPortal. And that will be an ontology of ontologies. I mean that you have so many that you need an ontology at the very high level, which would integrate in a way all the constituent ontologies.
So while there's not an ontology of ontologies, just one thing I would throw back out there that so one of the other web services, I didn't have it in this talk, is an Ontology Recommender. So given a corpus of text, you can actually send that to the Ontology Recommender and ask what ontologies best cover this data. So I think that gets at a little bit of what you're leaning towards. So we do have them grouped, and we do have the mappings, and so we're going to be working towards actually building up this mega thesaurus based on the mappings. So it's, I think some of those things are geared towards what you're asking for.